All right, everybody. Nate Hagerty here, CEO of TaxProMarketer, and today we are going to build your 2020 online marketing plan. I've got Jennifer Sarver with me, who is our content director. She and I work closely together on kind of like all the behind the scenes writing, as well as our gal Jody Skipper. But she's here just to handle any housekeeping details. Before I dive in, there might be some questions that come up during this webinar, and I love that. And I'm going to save some time at the end for that. Use the chat to talk with Jennifer or myself as it relates to kind of quick little comments or what have you. But if you do have like pertinent questions related to the content, if you could put that in the Q&A. We're on Zoom, obviously, so you got both options. Put that in the Q&A. That'll enable us to be able to answer them kind of at the end, and they'll sit there regardless of what happens in the chat. So today we're going to be building your 2022 online marketing plan. All right. Yes, thank you, Jennifer. She just posted a link. Craig, you're wondering how we're going to get access to the recorded webinar. We're gonna have that on our podcast. I don't know if any of you guys realize that we actually have a podcast. I've not really talked about it, building a repertoire of episodes there before I crow about it, but it's pretty great. So it'll be on our podcast, as well as a recording will be posted on our YouTube channel, on our socials, and in the members area of TaxProMarketer.com. So you caught me, Craig, right before I got into this with a real question in the chat, but you actually didn't do that the way I said. Yeah, put your questions in the Q&A. Thank you, Jennifer, for putting up the link to the podcast. All right, a little bit about me. I think most of you know me. This is pretty much just folks who have connected to us. This is TaxProMarketer members only, although I think Jason Bowman did email his entire list about this as well. So I was the marketing director of a firm that grew from like $50,000 a year to like 15 locations, 3 different states, hundreds of employees, multi-millions in revenue. And along the way, I did a lot of coaching, consulting for other practitioners, CPAs, tax business owners. And I discovered that I would coach them and give them like a monthly task in the one-on-one coaching that I was doing back then. And they would come back to me a month later and say, yeah, that was great, Nate. I had great intentions to do that, but I never did it. So I started TaxProMarketer back in 2007 as really an implementation engine for our coaching clients. So it was a little side business. And then this thing has grown. We are now the premier marketing agency for independent CPAs and tax practitioners. There are 16 in this picture. We just hired 1 more. We're hiring 2 more. So we've grown a ton, especially, gosh, in the last 2 years, we've grown like 40% staff and in other areas as well. We're premier partners with Google, blah, 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 blah. Doesn't matter. That's my family. I like my family. I have a lot of children. A lot of you have heard my story before. I'm not going to go into it. But I share that just so you know that I'm not like some disembodied business dude. You know, what I do with my employees and my team and my life in general is like work and life. I don't necessarily see them as like sacrosanct and separate. I think people say family first all the time, when in reality they say that, but then they go on a business trip. And if you actually do put your family first in all things, then you aren't going to go on a business trip ever, right? So it's kind of a cliche to say family first when you actually don't mean family first always. There's got to be a balance, right? So my team and I, we really work to strike that balance where we like see all of life as an expression of who we are. And our real focus and vision and kind of #1 goal in our vision and values is that we would, in fact, be the #1 go-to resource for tax and accounting professionals in growing their practices. So that's what we're all about, and that's what today is all about, really, because we're going to be building a marketing plan that probably is really unto this question: how do you own your local online marketplace. And that's absolutely something we can help you with. But my goal today is actually to give you the tools and take you through some exercises that are going to help you do this, even if you don't use our services, which, of course, like not everybody wants to have help. Some people are real DIYers. Great. What we're about today is we're going to go through what we've established over the last 3 or 4 years, what we call the digital dominance method, but I'm actually going to take an even higher level look. This is pretty tactical, though it obviously carries a lot of strategic value in seeing the online component of how you market your practice. But there's much more to it than just the online component. And before you even decide how you're going to do things tactically, you've got to understand the why and the strategy behind that. And the email that I sent out to everybody today spoke to that a little bit. But what we're talking about is really what we have used to get results like this: 1,200 phone calls over the course of 6 months, almost 3,500 phone calls over the course of 3 months. And these are just, different snapshots of different folks that we are actually doing this stuff on behalf of directly. And by the way, you can see just in this snapshot, if you never understood this, this is the Google Business Profile snapshot. It used to be called Google My Business. This is just from the Google Business Profile, and 49,000 discovery search impressions, which represents about 2/3, 3/4 of the entire search impressions. And so that leads to the next kind of extrapolation that of those 3,500 or so phone calls in 3 months, about 2/3 to 3/4, let's just say, call it 70% of those phone calls are from prospects. So we're talking over the course of 3 months, call it an even 1,500 a month, 70% of those, let's just say it, 1,000 prospects a month calling this practice. Does that sound good? Yes or yes, if you are in growth mode, okay? All right, so before we get there, what we're going to talk about is actually, I'd love for you to put this in the chat, because when I've done this in the past, I've done polling questions. I'm not doing polling questions. The hardest part about marketing your tax or accounting firm online, if you could put that in the chat, what do you find kind of the greatest challenge of marketing your tax or accounting firm online? Just type it in the chat right now. Time to do it. That's awesome, Celia. I mean, it isn't awesome. That's a reality. What else? What are some of the hardest parts? Coming up with the best mix, the technology, the money, time and know-how, ROI, don't know what to focus on. This is awesome. Yes, content. You know that you need to be putting out content, the platform to pick, steady follow through and implementation, getting knowledge help good, competition clicking on your pay-per-click. Ooh, that is tricky. I wouldn't really worry about that. Time. This is good stuff. This is great participation. Keep it coming. I anticipated some of these questions. Why is this stuff so hard? Well, one of the things that when I spoke at Scaling New Heights a couple of weeks ago, and when I've done this very similar presentation on CPE platforms, one of the things that I've discovered is there's so many options out there. Most practitioners are just unclear where to spend their budget, right? I'm seeing a few people talk about pay-per-click ads from larger firms or competition. That's a real thing. There's so many options. I mean, like, where do you start? Which platform? I saw people talk about the know-how. Do you work on search engine optimization, websites, social media? What do you do, right? It's just kind of like overwhelming. There's so many options online. Then, of course, like, doing a lot of this stuff can be costly, right? Search engine optimization firms alone can charge thousands of dollars per month to do the thing well. Pay-per-click advertising, if you do it right, you've got to be spending at least $1,000, per month on this thing. And so it's a major investment in marketing. And then ROI, I saw somebody mention ROI, like that's a thing. There's a few things that people have written. Reaching your niche audience, that's marketing to your ideal clients. Those are smart Smart response is not that the other ones aren't, because what we're really talking about is just the problems, right? But that's a really great question that some of you are putting in the chat there, and that indicates that you have some understanding of kind of the bigger picture, what we're going to talk about today. But most people really fail because they don't have a good plan for executing on a marketing plan, right? They don't even have a marketing plan. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to create the opportunity for us today is to create a clear plan with goals, targets, maybe some KPIs even, so we can accelerate our lead flow. That way we have a great ROI. I mean, this is really what it's all about, obviously, from just a marketing plan standpoint. We're not just marketing to spit into the wind and quote unquote do marketing. Who cares? I don't want to just do marketing. I don't want to like build a platform for the sake of building a platform. I want to serve my clients well. I want to execute a good service. I want to make the world a better place. I want to serve unselfishly. I want to build something that I'm proud of. And I know, based on lots of conversations with a lot of you, you feel the same way. So that's really what we're all about. So we want to maximize our lead flow and hit our client acquisition goals for the upcoming year. So I believe that having clear goals really, it does provide kind of wind in the sails for the growth of our business. Everybody probably knows about this study. You've seen business writers talk about it. It's a 1979 interview of Harvard grads, and 84% of them had no specific goals. 13% of them had goals, but they hadn't written them down. 3% had clear written goals and plans to accomplish them. So you know the story, right? Those who actually had goals, they were earning on average twice as much as the 84% who had no goals. But even more staggering, the 3% who had clear written goals were earning on average 10 times as much as the other 97% put together. Now, here's the deal. Correlation does not equal causation, right? Obviously. Just making goals is not some magical act that will create like vast income leaps, right? I think a bunch of people like use this study and make that supposition. It is false. Correlation does not equal causation. It is for sure the case that the kind of people who would have written goals upon graduating college are the kind of people who would then therefore be very successful, right? That said, when we actually have a target in place, I will not say that A plus B always equals C. And what I mean, A, income goal, B, like the writing of it equals C, hitting it. I don't think that's always the case. However, there is like this weird thing that occurs when you actually put the time and the effort to create that target and get your team on board with it and move towards a specific place. And that's what we're going to try to work on together. Now, in order to do that, we are not going to get tactical at first, at least. We are going to get strategic. And I don't want to dive into the kind of the nitty gritty of like your Google business profile yet. That's in the slides. Actually, I need to, at some point, put in fact, let me pause real quick, grab the link on the slides and make sure that all of you have that because you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put it in the follow-up email because I forgot to export these slides as a PDF. And so I apologize. I'll put that in the follow-up email. You'll get the slides. But you'll see that what I really want, like the most important place to start is 10,000 feet. Let's not start with like the tactics of Google Business Profile or your website or pay-per-click ads. Yes, we'll talk about those things. But what I really want you to, like, I think our time is going to be really well spent if you work with me on the fundamentals of marketing your practice. And this is something that I don't speak about enough, like on webinars, because like we are so tactical here at TaxProMarketer because, you know, we're so online oriented and there are significant tactical shifts that you can make, like the fact that you can claim all 8 categories on your Google business profile and not just claim one. Like that's a little thing that a lot of people don't realize that can make a big difference, a little hinge that can swing a big door. But in my view, having done this thing for, I mean, TaxProMarketer, we've been running for almost 15 years, but I've been in the online marketing sort of game or, you know, whatever, since 2003. So almost 20 years now. understanding the fundamentals of marketing has to lead out. And the fundamentals of marketing are market, message, and media. Simple. Okay. Now, what marketing at its core is about is like building relationships at scale. And the market, message, media framework, some have called it the three-legged stool of marketing. Without one of those stools kind of nailed down, it all topples over, right? It really is a three-legged stool. What that really means is how to build that relationship. Like what does that look like? And so we could take the metaphorical lessons we might learn in the real world from a relationship building standpoint and apply them to a marketing plan for our practice. But really what we need to understand is you've got to have all three of these legs kind of handled well before you can get into the tactics. This is the strategy. And where this starts is the target market, the who. A lot of people, I'd say the vast majority of people in our industry, and yay, every small business industry, they start with the media and they don't start with the market. And that right there is like shooting themselves in the foot. Doesn't mean complete failure, but it's kind of tying a little anchor around your ankle, and you're not going to have the kind of progress that you should have in building a marketing plan. So why do we start with the target market? Well, because everything flows from that. Understanding exactly who your ideal client is the key to unlocking every part of your marketing plan. Because that way you can be more efficient and you can eliminate the crap prospects, excuse my bluntness, but and I don't mean they're crappy as people, but I mean they're not a right fit for your practice. Eliminate, let's just say, the chaff from your practice and zero in on the kind of people that you want to serve most. There's a lot of that happening in our industry. The very good news, there's good news and bad news happening in our industry right now. The good news is, like, if you see the recent data from the IRS, more people are using paid professionals than ever in terms of just tax preparation and compliance work. And obviously this expands into every component of tax and accounting, whether it's, write-up work and, part-time CFO services, all the way into, lower income tax prep stuff, right? And everything in between. The reality is there's so much confusion out there. The internet has made things at one point like so much easier, yet also so much more overwhelming because of the oceans upon oceans of info that people want that personal relationship. And so therefore, there is a lot of business out there. There are burned out CPAs and tax practitioners right now who are like shutting down shop and trying to offload their practices left and right. And so what that means is you have an opportunity to actually hone in on the kinds of clients that you actually want to serve. Not the ones that you've been taking all comers for a decade, but the ones that you actually want to serve. And so for some people, that might be like the highest fee clients possible because they just want to work 10 hours a week, right? More power to you. If that's you, awesome. For some of you, like, you've got this heart to serve the lower income crowd and you want to make it as an efficient and effective kind of practice for that. For some people, you don't want to touch taxes because the tax code is changing all the time. You just want to do advisory services. There's lots of ways to skin the cat. A lot of you love dealing with people in crisis and tax debtors and just do tax resolution. And of course, there's great fees there. We serve all kinds. We have lots of clients that only do advisory services. In fact, we started a sub-brand called TaxProMarketer that only works with, bookkeeping and advisory practices, right? We have clients that just focus on tax resolution. Obviously the classic CPAs, the tax and accounting EAs, whatever. It runs the gamut, but all of them have to understand who is your ideal client. So we're going to start with doing this exercise. And some of you may not have ever had somebody take you through this exercise for your clients. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to work through this quadrant. And in the top left, well, you probably can't see it very well because it's actually a bad image and I need to fix that. But at the top side, there's two axes. The up and down axis is time. So at the top is like the now feelings, and the bottom is the later feelings, like eventual feelings, okay? So that's one. The other axis is negative and positive, okay? So on the left side of your screen, you're seeing the negative emotions. On the right side of your screen, you're seeing the positive emotions, okay? So what we're gonna do is there's 4 quadrants. So there's like the immediate negative emotions, immediate positive emotions, eventual, i.e. long-term negative emotions, eventual, i.e. short-term, eventual long-term positive emotions, okay? Here's one thing you need to understand. Most people are far more motivated by negative feelings than they are by positive ones. Fear of loss is a much greater driver than anticipation of gain. That's just a fundamental psychological fact. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go through those 4 quadrants with kind of a generic prospect so that you can do the same for your practice. And so what I want you to do right now is I want you to take out a piece of paper, and it doesn't matter, even if it's like a scrap printer piece of paper, and just like on the back of it, okay, draw these quadrants, okay? And what I want you to do, and this is on the honor system, but this will only be something that will help you. Some of you are tuning out. You're like, I'm just here to like have something on to listen to while I, do some work in the background. I'm creating some 1099s or whatever you're doing, emailing. Look, that's fine. That can be a choice. Good on you. But if you actually want to like build something sustainable and long-term, even if you've done this before, and I've done this probably a dozen times over the years for my different businesses, right? And every time I do it, I kind of get a new insight into what I should be thinking about related to communication and marketing and big picture strategy for my practice, for my agency, right? So, and I've been doing this for a long time. So this is something that I still do. So I'm not saying that I'm like the model for everybody on this webinar, but you're here for a reason, right? Like you're here to actually do this thing. So enough said about that. Let's just dive in. Because the reality is if you could see the world through John Jones's eyes, then you can sell what John Jones buys, okay? And so what I mean by that is you want to get into the mind of your target prospect and who they are. I'm gonna give you a sample idea of what that looks like. This might be the target prospect for your practice. It might not be the target prospect for your practice. Fine, okay? Let me just snapshot identify this person, okay? They're a business owner. They've got about $200,000 of revenue, which means they're not just like pure startup. They may have been doing this for a year or two, and they've got some momentum. So they're growth mode, right? Doesn't matter if they're male or female, and they might have a household income as a result of $75,000. It might be that their spouse works also and they're still kind of like not running at a profit. Doesn't really matter because like they've got a business that is in growth mode, and like whether or not their level of whatever, we can parse this however you want, but it's just Joe Jane small business owner is really what I'm looking at here. Not like killing it small business owner, not enterprise level, not even mid-sized. I'm talking about small, but they're in growth mode. They're not startup. Make sense? All right. Now, for some of you don't even work with business owners, so you need to like create your own demographic profile. Some of you work with like higher end businesses. Some of you work with a particular niche of business owners. Some of you, don't even do compliance work, and you just, you're in resolution cases, and so you are like dealing with people in debt, and so there's a different kind of demographic profile, though of course we understand that the best cases are usually like business owners who got in payroll tax trouble, right? So that like you want to identify that. So let's think about the pains. And so what we're here is we're in the top left talking about the immediate sort of like short-term negative emotions. And why am I talking about emotions, by the way? Because this is the language that we all live in. However, like analytic you think you are, and look, I work with CPAs, accounting practitioners, tax folks. Look, a lot of you are, in fact, very analytical. A lot of you are very line by line, but the dirty little secret of the tax and accounting industry is that you guys are emotional. And you don't really think of yourselves that way, most of you. Some of you understand that and you lean into that, that's great. But in reality, I've seen this from like marketing tests and the kind of copy that we've done when we try to actually reach the tax and accounting industry. Little inside baseball for you, the emotional pitches work better than the ones that don't. when I actually tap into understanding these realities for you, for me running like an agency, like I'm a business owner, I want to kind of like gain, business from the industry. When I can speak to the emotional realities that you guys are in with, there's better response. And so understanding these things for you and for your business, however analytically driven you think you are or your clients might be, because by the way, the chances are very good that you are not your client, that your opinions don't really actually matter. Because let me drive you back to this. If you could see John Jones through John Jones's eyes, then you can sell what John Jones buys. Okay. John Jones being, your target prospect, or Jane Jones, doesn't matter, whatever. Okay. So let's dive back in. So your typical business owner, small growth mode, too busy to watch the numbers. Okay. They're just like cranking, doing jobs. Maybe they're a home services professional, plumber, electricians, what have you, but they know that they're not bringing home the income they believe they should. They don't really have any cost controls in place. They're just buying what they need to get their business done. They've probably been burned by previous accountants or bookkeepers who didn't get them the stuff when they think they needed it. They probably are overpaying taxes because they know that they hear talk about all these amazing deductions for business owners, but they don't really understand the tax code. They've been treated like a number by Block or Bench.co or whatever kind of company they're using. They just are really driven by what can they do to increase profit, and they're frustrated that they can't get more profitable. Okay. All right. So the longer term fears of these kind of folks is that they're afraid of not growing their business. They're afraid of staying stuck, right? They're afraid of maybe even worse than that, losing their livelihood. They're afraid of getting ripped off by people who are better at numbers than they are and can, kind of trick them. They are afraid of bankruptcy and failure. They don't want to fire trusted staff because of a profit decrease or what have you. Inflation. I mean, there's all kinds of long-term fears these folks have. Now, this is not a complete list, by the way. These are just things off the top of my head when I was putting these slides together that I thought of. You could probably fill that out even more, and it would be valuable for you to do that. Again, putting this in the framework of your target clients. And there are lots, hundreds of people on this webinar. You put this for your target client, not just this person, your target client. All right, let's talk positive. Okay, we like positive better. Maybe in the short term, they just want a good system in place to know their numbers as a business owner. Okay, they don't want to have to worry about profit. They want to not even have to think about finances too much. Just take what they need when they need it. They don't need to live huge, but they want to grow their business. They want a business, they can be proud of. They want to be able to hire their friends, right? These are some of the short-term things. A lot of them have friends that are struggling. They want to be able to help their community. Even bigger picture, or even sort of more subconscious. Some of them really just they really want to be the winner, right? They want to be the smartest person in the room. They want to live in a nicer house, have a nicer car. They want financial security. These are not wrong, bad things to want, right? A lot of them. They want independence and not be beholden to anybody else but themselves. They want respect, approval of their friends. They want to become that cliche entrepreneur. They want to have peace of mind. They want, if they've got children, they want them to grow up healthy and happy, successful. They want to create the kind of on-ramp for that to occur. All those things. Now, notice that nothing in these 4 quadrants has anything to do with the 3 updates to the net operating loss carryover rules. Nothing in there has anything to do with the 3 most important reports to use in QuickBooks, or how to understand a P&L, or the ways to maximize the employee retention credits. Nothing, because they don't care about that. They live here. You live there. You live in QuickBooks. You live in tax code. You live in the jargony world of the tax and accounting pro. That's great. That's fine. That's actually really important that you were a skilled pro with that stuff. But your client doesn't care about that riffraff because he's paying somebody else, i.e. you, to handle that. So understanding that is like the starting point. So this is the market. This is diving into the conversation occurring in the mind of your prospect. And it is the starting place of everything that you do from a marketing plan standpoint, everything, okay? It is the market. Too many people think that they want to grow their business, so they start with the media. And the media is how to reach that market. The media is pay-per-click ads. The media is Facebook ads. The media is search engine optimization. All those things matter, but they have to come from the source of understanding the target market. So look, we're going to talk about the media, but if you just decide overnight that you want to run some ads and you don't have clarity about who your target client is, then you're just spitting into the wind. If your target client, by the way, is anybody in the Peoria area who wants to pay me for my services, that is not a target market. Your target market has to be clear and specific, and you want to even, if possible, to have that specialist positioning so that you're getting referrals even from other tax and accounting professionals, maybe even in your local market area because you are such a specialist, right? So understanding your target market is the starting place for any kind of marketing that you do. And that's not necessarily the plan. We're gonna get into the tactics, but that's where we have to start. Then the message. I've been back and forth about media and market. What's in between? The messaging. This is also a really important thing, okay? And the messaging, I cannot decide that for all of you because again, there's such a variety on this webinar, but you need to understand the answer to this question. Why should someone choose to do business with you versus the competition in your category, right? So whether it's tax prep, tax resolution, advisory, everything in between, doesn't matter. There are options. So therefore, because there are options, why should someone choose to do business with you versus the competition? And then, so what are the benefits that you and your practice offer that your target client avatar, which is your ideal target client, is actually going to resonate with? How can you solve their fears, their negative emotions, and how can you appeal to their desires and dreams? That is where your marketing has to live, in that area. That said, then let's build that plan, shall we? All right. So what I believe is we need to keep it simple, stupid, KISS. And this is the framework that I used way back in the day when I was running the marketing for that practice that, was multi-state, hundreds of employees. I had over $400,000 of budget to play with every year for this marketing. And we broke down that budget just into 3 categories. And I hope this sets you free. I hope that you feel the joy of the simplicity of this kind of plan for your marketing. Agency clients, I know there's a bunch of you on this webinar. We already have this in mind in everything that we do for you when we kind of build your online marketing machine that we build. 3 primary audiences. 3 primary, okay? And this is so stupid and simple that you might kind of kick yourself if you're not already thinking of things in these terms. Existing clients, lost clients, and new clients, and have a plan for each one. And notice that that is oriented around the clientele, not actually around how you're going to reach them, right? This is the media. We're talking about the how, but remember, we are talking about existing clients, lost clients, and new clients. It's the market. And so your existing clients need to hear something different than your cold new clients need to hear. And it's going to be different than what your former clients, lost clients, which, by the way, that is a extremely worthwhile population to reach back towards. And we'll talk about that. All right. So depending on your goals, your budget, and you should have some sort of budget, but even so we talk about budgets in our industry, that's catnip for accountant types, because we all like to work on budgets. Here's the deal. If you ROI, if I've got a marketing strategy or campaign that is bringing in 10-to-1, ROI, what's my budget for that marketing plan? Put it in the chat. What should be my budget if I've got a 10-to-1 marketing campaign? I put in $1, I get $10 back. What should be my budget? Type it in the chat, people. I put in $1, I get $10 back. What should be my budget? Okay. Lynn, how much do you have today? All in, all in, all in. $5, $7. Okay, so really interesting, right? 1 billion. Exactly. Okay, guys, as much as possible. So budgetary considerations are sort of irrelevant. That said, I understand we all have planning processes. So let's just put this in like a framework of kind of like proportions, okay? But in reality, if we are getting 10-to-1 ROI, we should put in any amount that we can handle. You know, that's one of the reasons why we ask whenever we intake somebody for like a coaching session, we ask them how many new clients can they handle on a monthly basis, because that actually matters, because how we might direct them towards like a marketing strategy is dictated by their capacity. And some of you are solo practitioners, so therefore, like, you know, you're limited by your own capacity. Some of you have teams, some of you have better teams than others. So it just really depends. Or some of you like are just already at max capacity and you're just sort of looking to optimize. Some of you are like really in growth mode. It just depends on your goals for your practice now, right? So generally speaking, existing clientele, 20 to 30% of whatever you do. Now that seems high to some of you maybe, but let me tell you, the best, most easiest client that you can get is one you've already got. It like once somebody has proven their ability to pay you well for services rendered, they should be somebody that you focus in on to have them offer you more. So whether that's like to generate referrals and like, you know, have them clone themselves, or to like get them to like go to higher level services. So Jake actually is a great, Jake, I think you're like a guru in the space. You should know this stuff, man. Why do we need to spend money on marketing to existing clients? Now, so what that money could look like is direct mail. It could look like treating your people really well. It could look like buying them gifts. It could look like dinners. It could look like all kinds of things. It could look like, you know, staff time to call your existing clients. That's what I'm including in the budgetary considerations of marketing to existing clients. Like it's not, and beyond just client service considerations, beyond just like inbound reactive level kind of client service. I'm talking about outbound proactive client reach out. So whether it's direct mail, whether it's gifts, whether it's meals and what have you, whether it's staff time spent calling people proactively, depending on like internal triggers that they might trip off. Because you might have business owners for whom you are doing their taxes, and you're doing taxes for a variety of different entities, and you're just running the taxes for them, and you don't have them in your bookkeeping practice, and you're not checking in with them that like you could offer bookkeeping services to the different entities that you are seeing are like bringing in $30,000, $40,000 a month, and you could run their books, okay? And you could give them a deal to do that. Well, it takes time to actually ask your people, might even be just your time. So again, the idea is effort, budget, energy for your existing clients, because whether it's referral generation, whether it's cross-selling into additional services, whether it's even simple things that might amplify your new client acquisition, like review generation, it's worthwhile to spend your time and budget on your existing clients, okay? For sure. And just even retention at the bare minimum. Then lost clients. A lot of us think that somebody left us, they moved on to some AI software or somebody down the street, and we think it's because we screwed something up. Usually, in fact, it's because they had wrong expectations, and they'll discover that after they have multiple iterations with other practices, and they realize, oh, actually, we had a pretty good back at Jake Bernbird's practice, right? So a lot of times though, they won't come back, whether they're embarrassed about like saying, maybe I was wrong to leave you, or maybe they just are like forgot about it and they're distracted, and they just need a reason to get off their couch and come back to your practice, whether it's for advisory services or tax, whatever it is. So lost clients. And then new client acquisition. That's the sexy stuff. And we got lots of stuff we can talk about related to that. Okay. So for existing clients, let me go back to that concept. So I hope you guys see the simplicity of this plan, by the way. Okay. Develop a plan for your existing clients, develop a plan for your lost clients, develop a plan for new client acquisition. Identify the number of new clients that you want and develop a plan to reach that number accordingly. Simple, okay? Just do the math. All right, email marketing, social media, reviews, gifts, outbound calls, regular meetings. All of this costs money and time. Additional services and direct mail and more. These are the sort of things that you can provide to existing clients. This is one of the key reasons why here at like TPM, that we do email nurture. And this is actually one of the things that when clients on board with us, and they start using TaxProMarketer kind of like core level services, and we're sending emails every week on their behalf to their existing clients that feels like they wrote it. It's like game changer. This is the core thing that every one of you should be doing. If you have a certain like number of clients, is writing emails to your existing list, at least monthly, I think weekly. And not just because I think it, because I've seen, the results of doing this since 2008, but also, or biweekly is okay. But like what happens when you actually write emails that your clients and prospects like are interested in reading? It's a game changer. Every single person on this webinar, and there are many, came because of email, came because of email nurture. So that should tell you something. I'm not selling anything on this webinar, but if I were to want to, it's because my relationship with my email list is such that like I'm giving value, and I'm not treating everybody on my email list like they're the same. There's people who've been on my email list since like 2007, and they're still reading my emails because I'm not treating them the same as the person who's been on my list since like last week, right? So there's differences and how I approach different people. And even more than that, there's like subgroups within your practice that you can speak to differently. And I highly recommend. What we do with our clients is a real simple bifurcation. 1040 clients, small business clients. Different things matter to different crowds. So you don't want to speak to your small business clients about things that only like your 1040 clients will care about. You don't want to speak to your 1040 clients about like sales and marketing and cost controls in a business. If you do all that, you just all things to all people, you will eventually get tuned out. So you don't want to treat them all the same. Segment your list. If you just are new to this game, that simple split up is a really, really good one. We also have different content that we write for our clients for tax resolution, for like advisory services, and like they don't do taxes, for Spanish speakers. There's a variety of things that we can split it up with if you like actually use us, but if you do it for yourself, just split it up in like that simple list. Then the main thing, offer real value and be conversational and consistent, okay? So make sure that you are just like, you're not giving them pabulum and junk and like the same kind of stuff they could get from like any kind of rando Google search, right? You don't want to do that. You want to write like it's something that you wrote about that is real valuable to you. Do it every week, and amazing things happen within your existing client base, okay? Again, I got story after story on this stuff. Roland wrote me this note recently. I thought that marketing emails were stupid and would never work, even though, by the way, Roland became a client with our agency because of marketing emails. But cognitive dissonance, it's okay. I don't even know if Roland might be on this email. I don't mean to make you feel funny, but let's just call a spade a spade. So clients started responding with stuff. These are great. Love the emails. The point is, unless you've tried it, you don't actually know. When you do, it is so wonderful to like even just the feeling of offering your clients something really valuable where there's no transaction attached, where you're just giving them good information that they can use and be actionable about, it feels awesome. It's a way to serve. And that's really, at the end of the day, like what I know that most of you care about. Okay. You can gain new clients and receive them for a few years now. So this stuff works for prospects and leads. Now, a lot of you see what I do on my email list. You're not coming to this cold, so I'm not going to like spend a lot of time. Basically, what we do on behalf of CPAs is kind of the same thing that I do on behalf of TaxProMarketer and AdvisorProMarketer. So when I'm writing kind of like from the heart, real, like transparent, like we try to pull that off on behalf of our hundreds of clients. It's obviously a tricky dance to do that for a bunch of different kind of practices, but it can be done, and you can do this for yourself. You know, if you want our help, that's great, but you don't have to. You can do this for yourself. So you segment your list, not just sending business owners, not casting your pearls before swine, so to speak. The old biblical proverb is what I mean. Obviously, we're not going to think of your client base as porcine, but segment your list so you're putting the right information in front of the right people. Then be relational. Like, don't be afraid to talk about yourself. Write it in the first person and write it like you are writing to one person, not like, hello, John Smith, CPA client family. Here's some announcements to all of you John Smith CPA firm clients. The employee retention credit is canceled for Q4 of 2021. So, blah, blah, blah. No, write it like you're writing it to a real person, not like you're just issuing this corporate memo or doing like, a student government announcements. Don't do that, okay? Then give them real value. Don't just agitate them, make them like feel bad that they're not using your services. Like, give them something of real value. Don't just pitch them all the time. What's awesome is that right now in this environment, most of your clients, they have a felt need that your services will in fact meet. If they're business owners, like stuff is going crazy, they need a port in the storm. They need somebody who can translate, their numbers for them. Like, that's kind of an easy pitch for regular families. Like, there's so much change, in the tax code that's happening like every president, let alone like every year. We got the ARP, we got the Build Back Better, we've got the, there's so many things. What was the other one? The TJCA. There's so many different bills that are changing the tax code. There's no wonder why the normal taxpayer is like seeking out actual humans to help them with this and not just trusting it to a software. Because despite the rise of like the AI and the capacity for softwares, people want people, man. So like, be a real person. And then of course, speak to what's happening. Like, talk about inflation, talk about infrastructure, talk about the things that are actually occurring in that moment for your clients, and be consistent with it, and amazing things happen. All right, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on social media, and I do want to tell you that like I am going to get you the slides to this thing. I'm not going to be able to go through each one in a granular level detail for a variety of reasons, because this could be like a 3-hour webinar if I did that. But I also want it to be useful to you. And here's my little summation on social media. Don't you do it. Don't you get sucked in, okay? You as a business owner, you have got to be focusing in on the highest leverage activities. So have somebody on your team handle this for you. And the way they should handle it, make sure you got something posted every day. Because here's the deal. Organic social media is not what it used to be. And I know I'm a marketer. Like, it's kind of weird for me to be saying this, but here, like we make investments with our time, and we can make investment in those things that like have high leverage or low leverage. Social media right now has low leverage. And that's the case with LinkedIn. That's the case with Facebook. It's definitely the case with Instagram, TikTok, whatever it might be. Yes, there are unicorns out there. I've got a good buddy who's killing it on TikTok, and he is Duke Alexander Moore. You know him if you're in tax Twitter world or whatever. But he's kind of a unicorn, and he like has been building his platform there for a long time. He's killing it. But most CPAs and tax practitioners don't have the time to learn the skill set necessary to do well on TikTok. to build the audience there, blah, blah, blah. It is time intensive to do that. But what you should do is pick the highest leverage platforms, that's Facebook and LinkedIn, post every day, target the right prospects with your content. Don't just have like one content stream for all of it. So we actually do that on behalf of our clients. We have different kind of streams of content. And then just go after engagement, have stuff there. And that is a way to reach your existing clients. Add your existing clients to it and good things happen. All right, that's what I'm going to say. It is helpful for new client acquisition in the sense that like you will be found, your profiles, your pages, they will be found upon Google searches and what have you. And if you haven't posted anything there in like 6 months, like that's a red flag for certain prospects, not all of them, but certain prospects. So it's good to just have stuff there, but definitely, especially for your existing clients as well. All right, local listings. This is in the category of existing clients for this reason. Asking your clients for a review is an awesome way to seal that relationship, help with your new client acquisition, but again, seal that relationship. When people have actually give you a review and write a review on Google or Facebook or wherever it might be on the different platforms, that there's like psychological thing that like makes them more invested in your success, and it just helps your relationship. So don't be afraid to ask your existing clients for a review for the purpose of your relationship with your existing clients. All right. So we actually have tools for that for our clients. And then of course, for your existing clients, cross-selling and Ascension. Now you'll notice this is number 8 on our digital dominance method wheel, because normally this is something we do at the very end. But I'm talking just existing client budgets and things like that and existing client focus right now. Cross-selling and Ascension, like Ascension means basically ascending the relationship so that they're using higher level services in your practice. So to do that, have a thank you campaign. Again, we do this for you, but you can set this up for you as well. Like a preset email sequence with like 3 to 6 emails that once like the return is filed, maybe the IRS is fully paid off, or like the books are submitted quarterly or what have you, yearly, it doesn't matter when, it's just whatever, like your clients are breathing a sigh of relief, the thing is done. Then you have a thank you campaign. And the very first step of that is just say thank you. That's it. Don't ask them for anything, just say thanks. Say like, Mr. Jones, I know that it's, you know, it requires a lot of trust to open up the details of your intimate financial life. And I just want you to know we take it very serious, and we're so thankful that we get to serve clients like you. Thanks for riding with us for another year, and we look forward to serving you for many years later, period. You know, and leave it there. Don't ask for stuff. Don't even have it in your signature. Just say thank you. Be a real person, because that's how real people treat each other. You don't like, it's not everything has to be transactional in business land, okay? You don't have to just pitch. Just say thanks. Be a person, because like that's the right thing to do. Then, then you can ask for stuff, okay? Like, again, that can seem cynical, but the reality of why you're doing that is because like you care. You want to like honor the relationship. So say thanks, let it sit, then ask for a review, then ask for a referral, then tell them about the different services you provide. Do it in a sequence, have it preset so you can like upload a CSV file of clients, and it just happens. That is power right there. Do that with consistency, make some offers as you do, and amazing things happen. Okay, I should say, those of you who stuck it with us, and we haven't had anybody, I think, head off, but if you want to get my team to kind of speak into all these things for you, go to TaxProLeads.com. We will do an online footprint analysis for your business, and a website audit. We'll give that to you for the first 20 people on this webinar. Answer a few questions. It'll take you then to our calendar, set an appointment, and at that appointment, this is not a sales conversation. We don't have any full-time salespeople. We are actually here to like coach you and come alongside your practice. And we'll go over the different plans for existing, lost, and new client acquisition. We'll look at your website. We'll do all the tactical stuff, the strategic stuff, whatever you want to talk about. Go to TaxProLeads.com and we'll take you by the hand and we'll kind of go through all of this with you. All right, now let's get into some of the sexier stuff. All right, lost clients. The reason why this is sexy, This was by far every year the best campaign I ever ran when I was running the marketing for that multi-million-dollar practice. We would get a 22-to-1 ROI on every lost client reach out campaign, at least. Okay, 22-to-1. So like, obviously we had a limited number of lost clients that we could reach to, or else like I wouldn't be doing this company because I would just be taking that to the bank all left and right. But you do have, I just share that number with you to give you an understanding of how powerful this is. Most of your lost clients are not coming back to you just because you haven't asked. And so in our members area at TaxProMarketer.com, which you can log into, we actually have this available. We have a direct mail campaign that is just like, it's just a simple letter that you can put in the mail that says, "We miss you" at the top. And you can fill in whatever other like specific details about your practice. But look, you don't even need that. Just like, let me give you the framework. We miss you. Acknowledge that they haven't been with you for however long it's been. Give them a reason to come back, whether that's an offer or like you just want another crack at the, crack at it, or like you like stuff is changed in your practice and you think that they have a great experience. Whatever it might be, just acknowledge that they're gone, ask them back, and see what happens, and thank me later. All right. So 10 to 20%, depending on your goals. It's an awesome, like as much money as you can to put into that population. And again, phone calls, assigning staff, specific reach out, go after this population. You think that they don't like you, when in reality, most of the time, a lot of them just left for whatever other shiny object out there. Now, there's obviously a certain number of those folks you don't want back at all. We actually have a list of what we call bad apples in our practice, okay, that we don't touch, and we will never ask them back, and we will never take their money for a variety of reasons. They treat my team like dirt. I'm not going to have them back, okay? Even if they're paying me $10,000 a month, forget about it. I don't care. I don't want you abusing the people that are closest to me in business. And you probably have a list of people like that too. Fine, exclude them. But everybody else, ask them back. All right, new client acquisition. Now, when we talk to practitioners, we see two primary approaches when people are messing up their marketing from a new client acquisition standpoint. And the first one is one that is kind of what I call the lazy glorified business card approach. All right, and so you probably know what I'm talking about, right? These are actually really common in our industry. In fact, chances are good that if you're not one of our clients and we pulled up your existing website right now, you'd be pulling up that very thing, like the glorified business card thing. All right. These are the cheap, like $500 to $1,000 a year websites that frankly have dominated the marketplace because it's just like checking the box for people to just have a website. They've been around since the early 2000s, but they simply don't work anymore. And the reasons for that is because we've got review sites, social media, maps, local listings, blogs, video, everywhere, smarter algorithms. Successfully marketing your practice in 2022 requires a comprehensive approach, which every one of these online properties has to work together for, right? So on top of that, if you use one of these kind of business card style websites, you're putting out the same content as about like 10,000 other practices out there. And your chances of actually bringing in new business from your online properties goes down the tubes. So the reality is a basic website subscription service simply like it just cannot form the kind of foundation you need for actually like getting new clients. So, just to sum up, the website really is like one component of a much larger online footprint for any kind of professional service firm compared to even just a couple of years ago. Again, we're talking about new client acquisition now in the online marketing space. So that being the case, a lot of people have sort of discerned this. And so they're moving on to the next shiny object, and that is squeeze funnels driven by advertising. Or the other one that I see a lot of, I don't actually like it, cold prospecting, hassling strangers, the cold email, whether it's on LinkedIn or just direct email, okay? This is the carnival barker approach. It's like essentially going after the lowest hanging fruit kind of prospective clients, like the ones who are desperate. These do not end up being the best kinds of clients for your practice as a general rule. You will get some, right? But you have to squeeze them through your funnel, quote unquote, and you have to do a hard sell on them to engage your services, because the only way that you can get these kind of funnels to actually get traffic is you have to pay for ads to get there. And because you are paying for ads to get there, you need to get an ROI on your investing of $1,000 plus per month or more often if you want to get any kind of traction. And because you're putting that kind of money in monthly, like, you've got to get those things to pay off, right? You're putting in lots of dollars. You want it to come back with many, many friends attached, right? So you've got to get good at selling and one-on-one conversations, et cetera, et cetera. Like, that requires a skill set. Now, there's ways to do that, and there are people out there that can help you with that. But my contention and my experience tells me, almost 20 years in the industry, most CPAs and practitioners do not like to have to be that kind of salesperson, right? So on top of that, it really is like just a blunt instrument. Like, it's one hammer and you think everything else is a nail, because you don't have like organic traffic coming to these funnels. It really is like preparing a tax return for a client and only ever using the 1040 EZ. On top of that, if you shut off the ads, what happens, right? Nothing. So like, if you get tired of spending $3,000 or $4,000 a month on ads for not seeing return, then you like, nothing happens, right? And then of course, everything funnels through the phone. For the basic thing with these kind of funnels, there is a place for them within the context of a larger kind of online marketing strategy. But if you just rely on these as your primary new client acquisition engine, there's no search engine optimization. So you don't get like the 85% of clicks that go to the organic traffic. There's no local listings discovery. And so like, when people do searches for terms that like pull up our kinds of businesses, the maps listings show up at the top because Google has deemed our industry to be a localized like service. They don't typically, there's some exceptions, but they typically don't serve up like national results. It's typically, at the top, typically the terms that people use to find practices like ours, they are actually going to serve up the maps listings at the top. And so these squeeze funnel type things don't play well with like your Google business profile. And I'll explain why in a moment. There's no multi-platform engagement because you've just got this one single funnel thing. There's no good nurture over time because, again, you're trying to grab them by the throat and sell them, quote unquote, because you've invested thousands of dollars in traffic. And there's no actual online blanketing. And what I mean by that is like SERP stacking, search engine results placement. This is one of our clients' 5 listings on page 1 when somebody does a Google search for tax preparation in their area. Because, and this isn't like, yes, obviously this is our client, it's a quote unquote ad for what we do, but you can build this too when you actually put the kind of content out there that you should be putting out, and use not just one, but multiple, like platforms for your content. So the other thing about this is when you are doing that kind of advertising kind of funnel approach, your marketing is typically push instead of pull. I prefer pull marketing. I prefer when people are attracted to my practice because I am establishing authority and putting great content out there. So they're coming to me instead of me trying to reach out and come to them. All right. So what good marketing does is it follows the online marketing relationship journey for new client acquisition. And, I have whole webinars on this. Drop me a note if you want for me to go into the full online marketing machine kind of webinar at some point. I can go through this whole thing. I'm not going to go through all of it just for the sake of time. And like, I want to honor your time. We've already hit over an hour. So I'm going to kind of rip through these last slides, and I will get you the actual slides and the follow-up to this. But the pathway from awareness, the first stage where they don't even know who you are, to engagement with your content, to then converting to a client, and then ascending into existing client, is something that is no longer as linear as it used to be. So like it used to be, you could use those funnels and do really well with them, and just like ads, funnel, client. Well, now people are bouncing all over the place. And so on your screen is like a typical example of how prospects might find you, and everything in bold on your screen: search, website, retargeted ad, website lead magnet, email sequence, social search, Google My Business, now called Google Business Profile, listing reviews, then calling you, then Office. Like that is that's probably like one of 12 different tracks that your prospects follow to actually become a client. All right, so let's get into this. I'm going fast. I recognize that. But that's why I do encourage you to set an appointment at taxproleads.com. We can look at your stuff. We can help you kind of like build a plan for this new client acquisition component. But the things in red are the things that we handle for people, and really the online space. Like we kind of handle everything when it comes to online marketing. Search engine optimization is a big part of that. Blogging, security of your website, speed of your website, content, etc. Search advertising, we're Google Premier Partners. I have content on all this stuff available in our members area and what have you. Website conversion. Let me tell you this, kind of opening the kimono. One of the things that we've discovered over the last year, we changed all of our client sites towards away from the free report and white paper as the kind of the primary way to kind of capture information on the website, and more to like the survey. And these surveys just basically ask the visitors some engaging kind of low bar questions, and then the questions kind of increase in level of like importance. And people like the customized services feel. And so if you can, on your website, create that dynamic, hopefully it's true that you have like the ability to help them in their particular needs. That's what people are looking for in 2022. They're looking for people who will care about them, and that they are no longer a number. Going back to the exercise we did at the very beginning. So having these surveys on like your homepage of your website is a great conversion tool. Of course, email marketing, having an intake sequence, social media can be used for this. GBP, I used to say GMB. The Google My Business Profile is now called the Google Business Profile. GBP. It used to roll off the tongue better with GMB, but it's GBP. Your Google Business Profile is super important. In fact, I'd say almost as important, if not more important, than your main firm website. We can get into that as well. And referral generation. Other things you can do offline, direct mail, other local advertising, guerrilla marketing, which is basically shoe leather marketing or like in-person stuff, networking. Having a plan is the point. Once you put stuff together, like realistically, I mean, just some realistic expectations. This is like from a 3-month period this year, looking at 1,100 phone calls to practice in Des Moines, 3-month period, just over 1,000 phone calls from a practice in Colorado Springs, 765 phone calls in Staten Island, Houston, 590. But for each thing, you want to build a intake plan. And for the love of all that is holy, please freaking train your phone staff. So build a plan for each one. Oh, why do I say train your phone staff? Because I played prospect for our clients, and I like pose as like a juicy prospect. Hey, Mr. Jones, I'd like to talk to him. I've got like multiple businesses. I haven't filed taxes for a couple of years, but like we're doing like, $100,000 a month in a couple businesses. And, I just probably need some help with my books. And the receptionists or whomever's answering the phone are like, oh, well, Jane Doe, CPA, isn't here right now. You're going to have to talk to her. So call back. I mean, come on. Train your phone staff. Make sure you know that people are handling your phones well. And then build an intake campaign. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. All right, so I'm going to go through these slides. We've got about 5 minutes left on this webinar. So I'm just going to kind of show this stuff to you. And if you want to go deeper, again, I do encourage you to kind of go to taxproleads.com and grab a time. So search engine optimization and local listings. That's something that we will focus in on your main firm website, having different pages like with different pieces of content, because that's what feeds the robots and feeds the search engine, so you get ranked better. And you have to do it on a regular basis, having fresh content, not just a lot of content, but like on a regular basis. And then of course, having offsite factors like linking and like Chamber of Commerce and other secondary listings that like link to your website. You want that because it gives you more juice in the eyes of the algorithms. So here's a screen that will actually give you like a third-party look on how you rank in that like organic area and what are the factors that help you with that ranking. But then there's the local part, i.e. the maps part. And this is really important because Google now actually wants people to stay on the Google results as long as possible. And so they actually don't want people to leave because they want to serve up more and more ads and get people to click on their ads. So they don't want, they're not incentivized to like send people away from Google properties. And so you want to optimize your Google business profile and claim it. The way to do that, I'm going to put it in the chat, is you go to business.google.com and see if your business shows up. Okay, business.google.com, and see if you have the ability to access your business. If you do, then you've claimed it, and then you can therefore optimize it. If you don't see your business, like the control panel for your business, that means you probably haven't claimed it, or you're logged into the wrong Google account. So if you haven't done that, we can help you claim it, but it's pretty simple. Sometimes it's like a postcard, sometimes it's a phone call. It really just depends on kind of really the whims with Google at the moment, but you got to claim it, but also claim your Apple Maps, your Bing Local, your Yelp. Those are like the big four. And then there's 50 plus others that we claim on behalf of people. Add some photos, make sure that reviews are happening, claim the proper categories, clean up the bad stuff that's on there. And I guarantee you that there is, like there are, if you've ever changed your name, your address, your phone number, there's probably all kinds of different scraped data out on the interwebs about your business, and that's confusing the robots. You want to fix that. So like, this is just one example of what you could see on there. And then of course, having organic reviews and having like a plan to post content to your pages, because you can post like actual social content to your Google business profile, okay? It really like the posting really makes a big deal for your rankings, okay? So this is rankings on your Google business profile, a different screen for that. All right, advertising. I'm not going to go through the advertising for the sake of time. That is something we can do on your behalf. I highly recommend that you not do that on your own, okay? So the slides will give you some great information on how to structure a pay-per-click campaign for your practice. That's the last kind of new client acquisition stuff that that I would talk about on this webinar. We kind of hit the end of our time. Jennifer, I'm not sure if we have any questions that are worth kind of me verbally talking about, but again, I do want to encourage you to get that audit report and kind of get our team to take you by the hand and build this plan with you. Go to TaxProLeads.com. Jennifer, if you could put that into the chat. This is what the audit report will kind of look like. And, you know, we'll take a look at your, I will for sure, make sure it's a clickable link, Jennifer. You got to put the HTTP in front of it, unfortunately. So we'll kind of score the UXO, the SEO, and the performance. And those things will kind of like, the performance is like a, basically like how fast it loads. The SEO is kind of like how it ranks, and the user experience is like the design. So we'll show that stuff. Performance is the page speed, and kind of give you like a snapshot of what you should do next. That is at TaxProLeads.com. Thank you, Jason, for putting that up there. Oh, Jason Bowman in the house. That's awesome. If you have any questions, feel free to email me directly, Nate@TaxProMarketer.com. Looks like the questions that were out there, Jen answered, and we'll get you the slides. This was awesome, folks. Thank you for your participation. And I think we'll leave it there, unless if you got time to ask a question, put it in the chat, whatever. But I think that we are kind of at the end of our time. All right. Bless you guys. Thank you.